And with that, I am very excited to welcome our new guest, our second guest as well, Prab. I'm going to go ahead and bring her on. There she
Hi.
is. Hello.
How's it going?
It's going good. How are you today?
I'm good. I almost made the mistake about the East Coast time and the Pacific
Oh,
Coast time, and
no.
I was like, "Oh, it's at 12:30," and I was like, "No."
It'll be fine.
Yeah,
That's
I'm glad
so
I was
funny.
awake and I noticed the email, and I was like, "No, it's now."
That's so funny. It happens. I always tell people we embrace humanity on the show. Things happen,
Yeah.
life happens. It's no big deal. But I wanted to so I want to start off because you have a very interesting kind of origin story, right? So I'd love to hear your story. So tell everybody a little bit about you.
Yeah. Well, sounds good. Well, so originally I'm born in Bangkok, Thailand, and I moved here for college at the University of Washington to study journalism and nutritional sciences at around 17. So that's when I first came to the United States. And then after I finished college, I got a job at Chameleon Technologies, which is a small tech firm down in Kirkland. That's where I work today as a project manager. And I'm also currently doing my MBA at night. So it's like night school. So that's pretty much me right now. But I guess the interesting part is like coming here from an international school from Thailand and then, coming to the States and people not, being kind of confused about like no accent and just
Right.
all that stuff. Like, I understand that's where this is going to go. So I've had that question my whole life, but yeah.
Which is so rude. I always tell people, don't ask people that. That's so racist and rude.
I feel like for me, it's like, it's just, it's upsetting that you don't think people in foreign countries can speak or articulate things as well as you can just because you were in the United States. When,
Yeah,
like, in fact, a lot more people, have like better English or anything like that. Also,
it's
like,
true.
yeah, I don't know. And like, I'm
I've hired
bilingual.
people from Africa that spoke far better English, more properly, and with better grammar than people who were born and raised in the United States. So,
Yeah, and also like in foreign countries, I feel like they were more strict about making sure that we got it right, and that we were like, that we're like doing it correctly, and also that our writing is good and everything like that. So I feel like there was a lot of there's like a gap in understanding that people here who like ask those questions like, oh, why is your English so good? Like, why is yours?
well, I do think I want to kind of pause on that too, because I talked earlier with Nicole about how for years there was this whole stigma that you wanted somebody from the Middle East or from the Orient that would to be in IT or they weren't going to be as good. I had people that would flat out even refuse to hire white people in IT, like just would not do it. There was just this real weird kind of stigma and mentality about it. And so with hiring, I've been really happy to see that shifting and that people are relaxing on that and understanding that everyone can do IT. It's not just certain people and that. And
Yeah,
I think it's been a very interesting shift, but I was curious from a young woman's perspective who is also an immigrant. How do you feel that the United States is doing in terms of being better at being more receptive to people from all different backgrounds and
yeah.
diversities?
I think I can definitely speak to like my own experience, just like coming from a journalism and nutrition background that has nothing to do with tech. And I just think that like a lot of people, don't understand like how I shifted and how I got into this. But to me, it just made like so much sense. Like what I loved about journalism was advocating for people and telling a story and
Mm-hmm.
then backing it up with data. I always use data in my
Right.
articles, or at least I tried to. My editors always, were like, back it up, back it up, back it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely like loved that aspect of journalism. And then now what I do is in my job is I advocate for my clients in terms of making sure their data is accurate and valid and that they can utilize it to make actionable insights to further their business and accelerate, grow
Mm-hmm.
their business. So I feel like that jump from me wasn't that far fetched. But for like other people, it might be like really confusing, like journalism to tech. But in general, I think at least in my company and the way we recruit, we don't look beyond. We look at the qualifications the person
Mm-hmm.
has, right? So like if you can code or if you can manage a team of developers and analysts, and you have these kind of like soft skills or hard skills that
Mm-hmm.
will make you successful in the role and we can like test that out, we can do like a trial
Right.
run and we can see that it'll be like helpful, then yeah, we'll move on with the person. But whether you're white or you're not, like that doesn't matter. I feel like it's so frustrating that people, think it does. I mean, obviously now you want to hire with the thought of diversity in mind, and whether that be
Right.
like gender, race, or disability, it's like all kinds of
And yeah, that's one thing people miss too, is that there's different types of diversity, right? It's not just race. People think it's only like ageism is the biggest form of discrimination in the workplace.
Yeah.
So, ageism, all that kind of thing. And I love that you hit on too the importance of understanding career pivots, because sometimes when you first look at something like yours, right, with you went from journalism to tech, that does seem like, well, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But then when you hear the explanation and you see that that's actually not that dissimilar. So that's one thing that I always try to encourage people when they're looking into hiring is look at the why, kind of stop and look at it and pay attention and ask, because sometimes those people have a lot more skills that are relevant than you think. Just because they're coming from this over here doesn't mean that it won't translate and apply over here to you.
I think the why part matters so much. Like we look at resumes a lot in our staffing side of our company because we're also a staffing firm. I work at the tech side, but in our staffing side, a lot of tech people will put their objective to tell you like why they want this specific role and what they're hoping to do. And that can sometimes even help us realize like another role might be a better fit, because some people think like, oh, I'm meant to be an analyst because, like I'm good at analyzing numbers. I'm good at reading out and, making sure that the client understands like what's coming on, like making the visuals better or anything like that. But then when you look at the way they, talk about it or the way they organize themselves, like, oh, you could be a project manager. Like you're actually capable of having these other skills too. So that like helps a lot. But yeah, I think the why part that you mentioned is really,
it's huge. It's absolutely huge. You have to understand people's why. And even in tech, so I've seen the mistake that a lot of hiring managers make of, oh, we just need to have these languages and this type of thing. No, it's not that simple. You need to know who the person is, how they think, what they can do, because a lot of languages, and a lot of people that haven't worked at tech don't know this, a lot of languages are very similar and a lot of technologies are very similar. And if you know one, you can very quickly pick up on the other. So just because they're missing this one little piece, if you look at and you say, you know what, they've done all these projects that show that they can do what we've done, they can learn the language.
I would say that like transferring knowledge is a little easier if you have background in one of them, yes, but also like Python, for example, is very different. Like I have a whole team of developers and analysts, and I know that they know R, they know C++, they know like what they know Java and stuff, but Python is a little hard. But the fact that they're all helping each other and like working together because they do know how to like transfer that knowledge and they have a bigger understanding of coding, it is a little easier. So yeah, I do agree with you that if you have like if you have one language or like the ability to learn one of them, the others will come naturally. Kind of like learning other languages like English. I feel like I speak 4 languages and like that all came in one go. So I never, really thought about it. But if I were to learn one now, like I'm hoping it would be a little easier for me. I don't know.
Maybe my brain just kind of works that way.
I'm like out here like, yeah, I can learn another language. I don't know.
People are so funny. I've had so many people over the years be like, oh yeah, I don't think that people over this age can learn anything, so I need someone under this age. And I'm going, so now I use this story because this happened, but I had another one before this. I taught my 87-year-old grandmother a new technology recently, and she picked it up and ran with it. And I went, if she can do it,
honestly,
all these other people can do it too.
Yeah, when I see my grandparents like use FaceTime and they call me 6,000 miles away, I'm like, I'm so proud. And like I do feel like a lot of people, I don't know if it's like gotten lazier with learning something because everything can be so automated these days, or you can find someone else who's like better at doing it and just have them do it. I don't know if that's kind of the reason why people are not so much into the learning, but I think that's one thing that's missing from at least like my generation. I think forgetting to learn. Some people like are very excited and always looking to stimulate their minds and like very, like ongoing with the learning. And I feel like sometimes I'm like that, but there are a lot of weeks or days where I'm just like, I don't really want to learn anything new.
Yeah, I get tired.
Finally
Sometimes I learn new stuff all the time, but sometimes like my brain is now exhausted and I
Yeah.
need a break from learning for just a bit. But women, so there have been a lot of studies that show that women actually raise their hand first to learn something new and raise their hand first to take on something that they've never seen before. They're just like, oh yeah, I got that. No problem. I can do it. I'll figure it out,
Yeah,
And
I definitely feel because they have like something to prove.
maybe. I think it's
Like,
also
I
just
don't know.
it's some inherent nature too. Just like we're always having to figure stuff out, for our very primitive past, we would have to figure out how to cook weird things or find shelter in weird things or keep our kids alive when a saber-toothed tiger is trying to eat us. It's so I think women just from the most primitive background have this kind of just ability to go, oh yeah, I can figure this out. I can do it. I'll just reach out to these people and ask them and I'll just figure it out and make it work. I think it's just
sorry. It's like we have the expectation of ourselves that we are capable of doing it, but also around us, people have that same expectation of us to be able to do it. So it's like, okay, I'll prove you right.
And it's true. We talked to Nicole earlier about how mothers get treated sometimes. But the flip side of that is that the reason for that is that people just think women can just do everything. Like, oh, you can run your house and you can be a wife and you can be a mom and you can be a professional and you'll be fine.
Honestly, we can do all those things. It's just like priorities and like whether we want to. Like,
do I want to do
like, do I want to be a mom and do all that? Or do I want to do all that and then one day decide to be a mom and then, prioritize that? Like, it's just about your priorities, right?
It is different for everyone. But I actually feel kind of bad for guys. I actually talked to somebody about this recently because I feel like guys just get you just need to be good at work.
You know what? I feel like it's changing.
It is fully changing.
Like super changing. Like my brother's a CEO of his company back home, and like he took paternity leave to help my sister-in-law, and he's a great dad, and I definitely think like family comes to him first, and he has to be good at work too. Like obviously there's an expectation because he's the earner of the family, but that doesn't. I feel like that doesn't mean he isn't supposed to be a good parent.
And you're right. And I'm excited to see that shift. I'm excited because I had a stay-at-home dad. I was talking about that earlier and I loved it. And he still had a career. He still worked, but because he taught at the college level, his schedule was a lot more flexible. And so he would come and he would be a dad to me. He would take care of the house. He would do his job and let my mom be an excellent mother when she was home and have a phenomenal career and just really advance her career. And it was really cool. And so that was my first little experience, was actually my way of growing up. But I'm excited to see that society is slowly shifting that direction and going, no, we can share. We're not hunter-gathering anymore. Like we can share responsibility. Everybody can do these different things and that's okay. And I like seeing that. And I think it's cool for technology too, because I think we're getting a lot more diverse input into the technology. Nicole and I were talking about that as well. Are you seeing that as well, that just the more diversity we embrace in the workplace, the better the technology gets?
Yes. Honestly, I think it's because new ideas are formed and you get different perspectives. So you're not just like having conversations with people who think like you, but you're getting them from people who come from different backgrounds, who have a different understanding, who might have seen things differently. And all that, brings different views in. And I think it makes it more cohesive because you have more ideas in like, a circle or a place.
Yeah, no,
I think that's really helpful.
It's completely true. And Boston Consulting Group did a study a while back that when you hire true diversity, meaning, diverse backgrounds, diverse race, diverse gender, diverse work experience, all of that, you're going to see an average of a 19% increase in profits, as opposed to a company that just hires kind of all of the same thing. Yeah. And that's a huge amount.
Also, why would you want to work with people who think exactly like you or are like you? Because like I've always like been taught that you should never be the smartest person in the room, just because like, what's the point if you're already smarter than all of them, then how are you going to learn? This goes back to like wanting to learn stuff. But I think this is actually something my brother once told me. He was like, never be the smartest person in the room, always higher, smarter, better.
Yes.
It's like, you're always going to be growing, and so are they. And if they have skills and, knowledge that exceeds yours, utilize that. Like, that doesn't bring you down, and actually brings you all up.
Yes.
That's the thing that people miss, like, disregard, like when they have conversations like this. They forget that it's not just about like you growing, but it's like being able to grow with other people. That's how you grow too. Yeah.
Yes. And even in your personal life, that's true as well. But but especially in the professional realm. Example. So for my technology that I'm building out, the applicant tracking system, I have a software developer that is who's acting as our CTO, who is just phenomenal at what he does and is way smarter than I am with that kind of stuff, and probably in general, obviously, honestly, but he is just brilliant. And then I have Mervyn Kennedy McCoy, who is our advisor, and he's a genius in his own way. And he has got his experiences and his differences, and he brings something so incredible to the table that I could have never brought.
Yeah.
And my husband actually now works with me. He quit his job a year and a half ago to join my company, and he's phenomenal, and he pushes me, and he's different than me, and we think about things differently. And even though we're married and share our lives, we still are two very, very different people.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. And I think that that's what's always made me better and stronger, is to have people that were different and smarter and could do different things better than me. And and there's no competition. That's like a misconception that people get. Like, you're not competing with
we all have the same goal and objective here.
Yeah, we're all working towards the same goal. This is
exactly. It's different if you weren't working towards the same goal, then yes, that person is like your competitor. But at the same time, like, you can always learn from your competition. Like, I played basketball in high school, and like in college as well, and it's like my favorite sport in the world. I am not the best player on the court ever, but I love playing so much. But when I see someone do something super cool, like a move or the way that they're playing, and I just love it, I'll try it, and I'll be like, I could do this. And like, even if I'm like, on defense against them, or I'm playing on offense against them, like I'm still like, we're still doing it together. It's like kind of like a dance,
and I do that with recruiting. I know the other recruiters out there. Some of them are good friends, and we talk and we swap tips and we tell stories. We reach out to each other when we're stuck. We help each other. It's not this, because there's enough business out there for everybody. I'm not trying to have a monopoly of the recruiting world. That's not something that I want,
If that's not your intention, and they know that, if that isn't your intention and they know that, then we're good.
Yeah. And I think that's an important, and a lot of times I've seen this idea that women are aggressive with each other in the workplace and extra competitive with each other. I don't think that's true. I don't think we're more competitive or aggressive necessarily. But I do see it sometimes. I've seen I want to be the woman in this space, or I want to be this or that, and the strong sense of competition. And I always tell people, it's your teammate. Don't do that. I don't care who you are, what gender, but none of that.
Yeah.
If this is your teammate, work with them, not against them. Even if they get on your nerves, even if they're kind of your competitor, work with them and find a way to grow from them. That's the best thing that you can do for yourself, for your company, for technology.
Yeah. Well, also in turn, while you're helping them, you don't realize it, but you're growing too. And like, you're both learning from the process. And if women just support women, we're all gonna go further. I mean, that's why I have my podcast too, Chameleon Chats. Like, I created it because I wanted a platform where women can talk to other women about like all the hardship they faced, but also like how they overcame it, and like any advice they have for younger women who are currently going through things that might be hard in the workplace, whatever that may be.
Right. And I think it's important, to your point. So in my little community in the Treasure Coast of South Florida, this is a very woman-driven area. Women run this area. And it's great. I love it. And the two of the biggest like tippy top dog women actually three of them, but two particularly came to mind, spend most of their time supporting others and lifting them up and talking about them and not themselves. And yet they've climbed to these very high places because they're known as helpers. And so everyone reaches out to them for everything.
Yeah, like for all connections, like introductions,
yes,
everything like that. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah. And so it's been amazing to watch because they're not always doing a commercial for themselves. There's one of them who specifically mentions her new competitor in the area when it's her turn to talk instead of herself, and goes, hey, if you weren't aware, here's so and so. I'm not gonna give out names, but here's so and so, and she's doing this and that, and you could reach out to her or me, whoever you feel comfortable with. I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's
I also think that's like really smart way of looking at it.
Yeah.
It's like instead of making them, like, oh, like don't choose them, choose me. That's gonna make people not want to choose you anyway.
Yes.
So it's like might as well help the other person, or not even go out of your way to help them in terms of like competition, because obviously like you have a business to run too. But it's like, lending hands here and there wherever you can. Like that, that was my
That's
point.
genius. I thought it was just genius. And so the most successful people, and men too, the most successful men I've known are like that as well, that they lift others up, they help others, they do what they can to be a resource for other people. In fact, the Who You Know Job Networking Show on later today, by the way, guys, if you're looking for a job, definitely check that out. That's Who Ya Know, YA. These guys spend so much time just helping others, and it's incredible. And now they've been able to kind of monetize it, but honestly, they were spending hours per week just helping people for free because that's what they wanted to do.
Yeah, and some people are just like that. They're just givers naturally, where like they receive, their like happiness and like from giving. So I feel like some people are just by nature are like that.
Yes, and it really helps. And so that's one thing I kind of want to wrap up with is it's like, ladies, we're getting there. We take up 47% of the jobs in tech right now. Not a lot of that, to Nicole's point, not a lot of the higher level stuff, but we're getting there. And it's going, and a lot of women are starting to open up tech companies that are starting to climb to those C-level roles.
My company is a woman-owned company too.
Yeah. So just lift each other up, help each other excel, reach out, form communities, be a resource, get on shows and talk about things. It's not that scary. Right, Prab? So you're on my show. It's not that scary, right?
Yeah, it's definitely weird being on the other side. But I mean, I'm looking forward to interviewing you on June 1st. So
yeah,
we'll be doing
I'm excited. So that's my sister's birthday too.
Oh,
I just thought about that. Yeah. And she was on the show for the first year we did it. She did a psychology segment for us every show. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I would listen to that. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, she did some really cute stuff. But I think just lift each other up, ladies. Get out there, be bold, be strong. If somebody tells you, tries to hush you up, but you really know something to be right and you really know something to be the best way to do things, keep pushing. Just do it effectively. Don't be a pain. Just speak up, keep going, show them the why. We were talking about data earlier. Have your data ready. If you could show people why and make it impossible for them to argue with you, you're a lot more likely to get your way.
Yeah, and also be kind of like intentional with the reason why you're helping, because like a lot of women, like maybe could feel like it's not genuine. I feel like because a lot of that, when you're girls and you're young, you're like all jealous and like angry and just like all the stuff like that, and like as you grow older, you don't feel that way anymore. It's not about that. It's about like I want to help a friend or like a friend's friend. So I feel like being intentional and genuine is like very key these days.
Yes.
Because you never know why someone like wants to help, but if you can like sense that, they are caring and they are genuine about it, then you're more like likely to accept their help and become more receptive to the idea.
Yes.
So a lot of people like just don't know how to accept help. It's hard.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of people are learning.
I'm a severe type A and I struggle with accepting help. But I want to thank you so much. And that was a wonderful tip to end on. Thank you. And we ran it right up to the end of the show. So you actually get to help me say goodbye today. My guest help say goodbye.
Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody.
But thank you guys so very much for joining us today on Career Launch. We're very excited. Join us again next week. I have some phenomenal guests coming on to talk about the importance of diversity in the executive type positions, and it's going to be really exciting and fun. Join us then. And for now, oh, and don't forget to check to connect with Prab. Her link is in the comments. Unless you're on LinkedIn, for some reason it didn't post there, but you see the spelling of her name. Go find her. She'll be glad to connect with you. I guarantee you. And with that, thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.